right, you guys, it's episode 62 of War Stories. And like always, I'm going to get straight to it. So check it out, you guys, real quick. Side note, I just dropped a premiere. And, usually I would just drop these videos, but I wanted to wrench a few of you guys up. It's been a while since I dropped the premiere. It was a short one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to start trying to get out more premieres like that, the short ones, because I can pump out a lot more content like that. But one of the main reasons why I did it was to wrench a lot of you guys up. So a lot of you got your fileros now. When you come on now, you have a job to do. When them funny style cats pop in and start talking that crazy stuff, go ahead and do your thing, man. Do a YouTube removal. But with all due respect, those of you that have already had a wrench know this. For those of you that have one now, use them wisely. Don't start using them for personal, because you got personal issues with somebody or nothing like that. If somebody makes a comment that's a borderline comment and it's lightweight disrespectful, put them in the corner for a minute. Put them in timeout. Make them go stand in the corner and think about it for a minute. If they're just coming on there with the crazy stuff, just go ahead and get rid of them. So I appreciate you guys that have wrenches and those of you that ask for wrenches. So anyways, I'm going to get straight into this next episode of War Stories. I told you guys I was going to take a break from Inner Demons. I was going to leave you with the cliffhanger, let you ponder on that for a minute. So in the meantime, in between time, I'm going to go ahead and knock out a couple war stories. So this one right here, I'm going to take you guys back to 1987. I always love these because they make me feel my age. Some of you probably weren't even born yet. Anyways, around this time, 1987, I was kicking it occasionally I would kick it with this individual named Craig. He was an Africano that used to live around the corner from me. At that time, I was living in the Excelsior district off of, Felton in Peru. And for those of you that are familiar with that part of the city, it's in the Excelsior district. You guys know where I'm talking about. So anyways, occasionally I would kick it with this dude. And I was already involved in the criminal element at that time. I was running around the streets doing my thing. I had already been laced up by John Romero, Sleepy, the individual I always referred to as my criminal mentor. So, when I wasn't kicking it with Craig, I was out there ripping and running the streets, running amok, doing my thing. Anyways, this guy, Craig, he was a cool cat, cool individual. I'd been with him on a couple occasions when we got into it out there in the city, and this dude was always right there next to me. He had hands. He was a thin cat. He was thin. He was probably like around 6'2", 6'3". But this cat was fast. And he had major hands. Trust me. The incidents that we got into, the boys slept a couple cats that we got into a fight with in the city. But on this particular incident right here, things didn't go as we wanted them to go. Things went kind of all bad. Why? Because we were acting like bullies. And that's what happens when you act like a bully. Me, myself, right now, today, I don't like bullies. I'm not a captain, whatever you want to call it. If I see somebody in public and, they're doing something that I don't like, if they're bullying somebody, or, I see somebody whooping on somebody that's not fighting back, I try not to get involved in other people's business. But if I see it and it's just like straight up somebody's just being a bully, I'll go over there and I'll end up getting myself involved. I've done it before, because I just don't like bullies. That's just always been me. However, when I was younger, I used to be a bully. So I understand that whole role. Anyways, me and Craig, whenever we would kick it, this guy he just liked to drink. That was his thing. He liked to drink and he liked to smoke a lot of weed. Now, I've talked about this house before that I was living at this time. I was living there with my mom and my stepfather. And, by this time, again, I'd already been involved with heroin. I'd already pretty much tried every kind of drug that was out there. I'd experimented, from the time I was 13. So by the time I was 17, almost 18, I had ran through pretty much everything. But Craig's thing was drinking hard liquor, drinking malt liquor, and smoking a lot of weed. So every time we would kick it, that's what we would do. Now, that house that we were living at, it was a cool spot, especially, you know, for my age, 17, it was like the perfect haven, the perfect little, the honeycomb hideout, man. Because so the house, it was a it was a 2-bedroom house. It was a nice pad. It was a 2-bedroom house. I'm gonna put a picture up of it. You guys will be able to see it. However, I couldn't find a picture from back in the 80s, the way that it looked in. It was when we were living there, the house was by itself. There wasn't nothing on either side of it. There was probably like, you know, there was a driveway on one side, and then on the other side, there was a yard. But, you know, when I Google mapped it right now, today, it's like the houses are side by side, which a lot of houses are like that in Frisco. I've told you guys that before. Some of those areas are just side by side. So if you're getting off with somebody or you're getting jumped, there ain't no backyard gates to hit. All the houses are right next door to each other. So you be in trouble if you're in the wrong neighborhood and you get packed out. Anyway, so like I was saying, it was a 2-bedroom house. It was a nice pad. It had a kitchen, a huge backyard. The backyard, you know, back then I had aspirations to be a boxer. It had a big tree with a rope that we hung way up in the tree, and then we put a tire on the rope. So I used to be out there thinking that I was Rocky Balboa at that time. You know, Rocky Balboa was the biggest thing going on in those days. All the Rocky flicks, I used to watch them all. I used to turn on Eye of the Tiger when I was in the backyard. My mom bought me some little gloves, and I'd be in the backyard just hitting that tire, bing, 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 all day. Anyways, where I was staying at in that house was in the attic. I was living in the attic. That house had a cool little attic. So the attic was, you go in the kitchen and it had one of those, it had a door that had a string on it, and you pull it down, and then it had some stairs that you open up. They were like accordion type of stairs. And then you walk up the stairs, you climb the stairs like a ladder. And my room up there was basically, it was like the length of the whole house. It was huge up there. And, you know, over time I had hooked it up. It was hooked up. I had drawings and you know, tapestries covering all the walls. I had a bad stereo system hooked up, you know, my little area where I had my bed, and I had a nice little TV, and I had some weights up there. I had it hooked up, man. And, you know, not just Craig, but like there was other homies that I used to kick it with at that time. The Alicons, they're from Excelsior, Diablo from Excelsior, the Itrabarias that are from Excelsior. But what we used to do at that age, of course, you know, we used to, when we would meet girls, we'd bring them over there to my pad. It was the perfect spot, you know what I mean? And it was big enough for a couple of us to go up there. I mean, I have all kind of memories from that attic, trust me, good and bad. That was also the attic where I told you guys that one story where I ended up stabbing that dude with wasn't a machete, a bayonet, because he came over disrespectful and almost cut his fingers off. He grabbed the bayonet and I yanked it. You guys remember that story? Anyways, that was the house right there. So me and Craig used to kick it up there, and we used to drink until we would pass out. Moms and pops, they didn't care, man. They didn't care about nothing. You know, they used to basically let me do my thing as long as I wasn't making a bunch of noise. They liked their sleep. So anyway, on this one night, I want to say we were drinking Southern Comfort. We were drinking Southern Comfort and Coke and beer. And we had already slammed, like, I want to say three pints that night. We were blitzed, man. And we decided to go to the store one more time to get another bottle and some beer, whatever we were going to get. So we ended up walking down to, I want to say that store was off of Silver, and I can't remember the name of that street. There's a little school right there. It's been so long since I've been out there. I can't remember the name of some of those streets over there. But anyways, it was like a half mile down. It was a good little walk, but it was within, you know, walking distance. So, you know, going to the store, there was a shortcut that we used to take going through the schoolyard. Instead of walking all the way around the block, we used to just jump the fence, or there was a hole in the fence, and we walked through the schoolyard, and we come out on the other side, and it was a shortcut to get to the store. Well, that night, like a lot of other times that we had been to that store, we went through the schoolyard. And as we were going through the schoolyard, I remember once we got to the other side, when we came into the schoolyard, when we first came in, we could hear somebody talking, but it was at nighttime, so it was dark. You couldn't see nothing, but we could hear somebody was in the yard somewhere. And as we got closer, I started to, I was able to see that there was this cat over there making out with this lady. They were making out, kicking back, minding their own business. And here we come. So we're walking by, and my little badass, I look over at him, and Craig's not even tripping on him. You don't say nothing about him, don't say nothing to him. But as we're walking, I look over at him, and sure enough, my mentality, I got that bully mentality at that time. I look at him, and I'm already thinking, let's get this fool. And, as we walked by, I look at Craig, and I'm like, man, let's get that guy, man. And he was like, oh, man, let that dude kick it with this girl, man. You know what I'm saying? Why you want to go mess with him? And then, he looked at me and goes, you really want to get him, huh? I see you down there, Chewy. I see my boy Chewy right there. Anyways, he's like, you really want to get him, huh? And I'm like, yeah, let's get him, bro. And he goes, come on, F it, right? I can't even swear no more. It's YouTube, man. Anyway, so we turn around, and we walked back over there, and there was like some cubicles. That's the kind of school this was. And at each cubicle, there was like a little stairway. There was like 3 stairs, and then you come up on a platform. Well, this guy and his girl were standing on one of the platforms. So we just walked in there, walked back into the schoolyard, walked right up to him, walked right up the stairs, and we just took flight on him. So we're on this dude. We're giving him the business. But again, it's at nighttime. It's dark. I can barely see Craig, but we were tagging this fool, lighting him up. His girl, she backs up, and we got this cat against the door, one of the school doors to a classroom, and we're giving them the business. Bing, bop, bing, bop, bop, bing, bop. And when we were going in on, so I seen something flash, and as soon as I seen it, I knew what it was. Dude had a blade. He pulled a blade out, and all I know is that I seen him pull it out. I seen it flash like in the light, and I seen him go after Craig. And Craig hit the burners. He took off. He ran after him, and Craig kept running. Then dude turned around. He came after me. I was young. I was a lot lighter, obviously, than I am now. So I had my skate sticks work real good back then. I knew that fool had a blade, and I knew if he got close to me, he was going to juke me. So I hit the burners. I hit the burners and ran towards the other side of the school. And me and Craig ended up meeting up on the side. Dude ended up, he chased me like halfway across the schoolyard, and then he went back to his girl. So I knew he didn't get me. At least I didn't think so. You guys got to keep in mind, we were fighting in the dark, and I didn't know if he might have hit me before, I seen that flash, before I seen it. But, when I catch up with Craig, we start walking back towards my pad. Instead of going to the store, we were like, let's go back to the pad, man. Let's get up out of here. Somebody might have called the cops or something. So as we're walking, Craig was like, oh, man, I think this dude got me, bro. And I was like, nah, man, you serious? And he's like, yeah, man. And all of a sudden he was feeling on his stomach, and you could just see the blood. He opened up his sweatshirt, and the blood was just, his pants and his shirt was soaked with blood. So I'm like, damn, bro. And it's like, as soon as he seen the blood, that's when he did that. You guys remember Menace to Society when Kane got shot? Once he seen the blood, he was like thinking that he was going to die. He got all dramatic. Well, that's how he did. As soon as he seen the blood, he curled up. And so I seen the stab wound, it was right in the middle of his stomach, and it was a nice size, wound. So, which told me that he probably stuck him. It was probably deep. So, anyways, I'm like, I gotta help him walk back to my house because he couldn't, he couldn't walk himself. He was leaning on me. So I'm like, come on, bro, we got to get you back, man. So it was like like I said, it was a nice little walk. So we finally end up making it to my house, barely. By the time we got there, this dude really could barely even stand up. The blood from the blood loss and from, I think he was going in the shock. So as soon as we get there, I go in the house and I tell my mom, hey, Craig got stabbed right now. I need you guys to take him to the hospital. My mom she started freaking out. What are you talking about? She jumps up and sure enough, she comes out. She sees all the blood. Anyway, so my mom tells me to put him in the car. I grab a towel because he was leaking. He was leaking like a pig. And I didn't want the blood to get all over. But besides that, I wanted to try to stop the blood because, I knew he's probably going to pass out. And I didn't know how much, I didn't know nothing about all that stuff back then. But I knew that if he lost too much blood, he might have bigger problems. So I got a towel. We put him in the back seat and we end up taking him to San Francisco General. And, when we get there, all I remember is walking him in to emergency. And I told him that he had been stabbed. So, when somebody comes in like that with a gunshot wound or they've been stabbed, they'll put you on a gurney right there and you go to the front of the line. Obviously, he needs medical attention right now. But I remember they wheeled him into a room right there and they did the same thing that they did to me when I got stabbed. They put a glove on, a latex glove, and they have to see how deep the stab wound is. I don't know if, medical, the way that they do things now, the way that they treat stab wounds now is different from back in the 80s. But back in those days, they put a latex glove on and they take their finger and stick it in the hole to see how deep it was. They did that to me, and I know they did that to him when they wheeled him into the room because I didn't see it. I heard him yelling out. And later on, I talked to him and he was like, bro, the worst part was when they stuck their finger in there to see how deep the wound was. Because the doctor tells you, he's like, yeah, I'm going to see how deep it is. It's going to hurt a little bit. And it hurts a lot of bit, not a little bit. Anyways, I know this is a short one, but there's a message that goes with this story right here. Obviously, when you act like a bully and you victimize other people, bad karma ends up catching you. Bad karma catches up with you. I believe in karma. I believe in good karma. I believe in bad karma. You get what you put out. This guy was minding his own business, kicking it with this girl, trying to do his thing. And we came up in there with bad intentions. And as a result, we almost both got stabbed. I didn't end up getting hit that night. Craig ended up catching it. And it wasn't even his idea. I was the one that probably should have got stabbed that day. But, lesson learned either way. As I got older, I learned that, I learned not to like bullies. This was when I was a kid and I was still learning. So it was a phase I went through. But anyways, don't be a bully. You know what I mean? Bad things will catch up to you if you act like a bully or if, you're out there victimizing people. Anyways, this episode 61, I know it was a short one. I just wanted to get something out to you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This your boy B, and I'm out.